conference is organized by CCMB Hyderabad and University of Hyderabad. And today we have with our guest Dr. K Thangaraj. He is presently the director of CDFD Hyderabad. He is also a senior scientist and group leader in CCMB. His lab works on population genetics and also understanding the genetics behind various diseases. Leading one of them is male infertility, and he recently published a very nice paper on what are the leading causes of male infertility. So today we will be talking about what is male infertility, what are the main causes behind it, and what to do if it happens to you. So tune in for this talk and listen to Dr. K Thangaraj, and maybe it will help you in understanding why it is what it is. Thank you. So welcome, sir.
Thank you.
With this introductory talk that you gave in this conference, it made a really big hype, and a lot of participants that you were talking to in this conference, they all said that you made a really powerful statement that in major of the infertility cases, 50% are also male infertility causes. So what do you think, what is male infertility and what are the reasons behind it?
Yeah, so infertility in general, if the couple doesn't have children after a year of marriage, then it's termed as a infertility, right? And if you look at broadly how many percentage of the couples are infertile, it's roughly about 15% of the couples are infertile. So after that, there is no difference between male and female, because we have male infertility and female infertility. So of the 15% of the infertile individuals, 50% are male, 50% are the females. And the reason for that is various reasons: environmental reason, even the occupational reason. Sometimes we take medicine for curing the disease, also can cause infertility. Smoking, alcoholism, obesity, there are many more cases. So of that, genetic cause is one of the major factors. That is what we are trying to understand, what is the genetic cause of male infertility. After ruling out all the known causes, the environmental factors, hormone profile, chromosomal aberrations, but still chromosomal aberration also a genetic cause, but those are known, one can pick up by looking at the chromosomes under the microscope. But these are unknown causes. We try to understand what is the genetic basis of male infertility. So in this study, we started more than 2.5 decades ago.
Okay.
Slowly we are looking at, broadly initially we looked at the Y chromosome microdeletions, that is about 8 to 10% of the cause. Then within the Y chromosome there is a region called deleted azoospermia. There are 4 dash copies, then we looked at it. Then we also looked at all the known Y chromosome mutations as well as the autosomes. After ruling out all of this, still we have about 3/4 of the cases are unknown. So that's why we thought, okay, now we have new tool of sequencing. We thought that sequencing all the exons, that means all the coding region of the genes, nearly 30,000 genes, we looked at and found there are several known genes which has been reported elsewhere. 8 novel genes. The genes are known for its implications in sperm production or any other aspects of male infertility, but nobody reported so far. So, for the first time we identified 8 genes. Mutation, those 8 genes are present only in the infertile individual, but not the fertile men. So, then we tried to characterize some of those. 2 genes at least we characterize. One of the genes is centrin-1, it the centrosome protein gene, so where it is essential for chromosome segregations. We demonstrated by overexpressing the mutant in the cell line and found that the normal cells are dividing perfectly. When there is a mutation, it causes multipolar cell. Therefore, the cell is not dividing not even properly, but not dividing at all. right. Therefore, there is a arrest of cell division, that we felt that is one of the cause for azoospermia, where there is no sperm production.
So, male infertility is always like no sperms at all, or incapacity to make the sperm access the ovum.
Okay. Yeah, there are several abnormality in the sperm. One is the azoospermia, where there is no sperm at all. Another one is oligozoospermia, where the sperm count is lesser than the normal individual, and the count also is not well defined, started at 100 million, then now it has come to 20 million is the normal standard. Then asthenozoospermia, where there is low motility of the sperm. Then the teratozoospermia, where the abnormal shape and size of the sperm. These are, sometimes we can have a combination of oligo, astheno and teratozoospermia. So, there are multiple causes. Yeah.
So, we understand that all of these disorders or different kinds of male infertility has something to do with the genetics.
Right.
So, what do you think is the best way to deal with it, or is there a treatment program for dealing with male infertility?
Yeah, there are a large number of infertility clinic. They do artificial insemination, or there is assisted reproductive technique now, which I think is more successful now. In some of the places they say the frequency is very high. So, that gives a hope for the infertile couple. So, that either they use the individual, that the father's sperm itself, it is oligozoospermia, or even this spermatid arrest, sometimes they use the initial divided germ cell, and there was some success story also. Or sometimes the problem with the, of course, we are not dealing with the female infertility, we are talking about male infertility. So, these are some of the aspects which are more successful in these days.
So, as we understand that different kinds of male infertility can be no sperm or less count of sperm, or abnormal sperm morphologically. So, does any of this hamper the psychological and behavioral aspect of male, or through which we can understand this person can be undergoing through this?
Yeah, of course, because this is one of the socially relevant aspect. Because any other disease people do not bother much, right. And if somebody is infertile, that gives a lot of stress to the individual. And when I do not know about in the city, people not talk much about it. In the rural setup, if you go, people say that no, they do not have children, when did they marry and why they did not have. So many questions, and particularly you think about the man, and also you can think about the woman who undergoes this kind of stress. The society should understand the problem is not that they created. So, because of sometimes it is in their gene, sometimes it has been transmitted from the previous generation, sometimes due to other reason which we discussed earlier, that environmental, occupational and many more aspects. So, it is one of the really important social problem.
Yes, absolutely. So, speaking of social problem, in our society, it is a long-standing problem that in not only rural and urban areas also, that when a couple is facing infertility issue, it is usually the woman is blamed for it.
Right.
Or as you mentioned in your talk also, the mother-in-law always think it's the daughter-in-law which is creating problem, and nobody really questions the man. So, how do you think we should go about this problem?
So, now the information is well known to the society that so male is responsible equally for infertility. But sometimes if you think based on our own study, based on other studies, the inheritance of the mutation, if you see, most often it comes from the mother in case where we find the autosomal genes, right. If father had this gene mutation, he also would have been infertile. So, there is no way that is transmitting to the next generation, that means father to son. So, in this case earlier also we have demonstrated that Y chromosome gene, androgen receptor gene, that is in the female, they are fertile, absolutely normal, but it goes, that mutation goes to the next generation and it pairs with the Y chromosome. Only then it causes sex reversed individual. They are karyotypically male, but they are with the female phenotype. Okay. Similarly, we expect that some other mutation in the autosomal genes probably must have transmitted by the mother. Okay. And unfortunately, we could not get the mother samples of some of the infertile individuals who carried the mutation, otherwise we would have demonstrated that. But it is very clear that it must have come from the mother based on the inheritance pattern and based on the cause of the mutations. So, in that case, not only the male, but the man's mother, right, who blames the daughter-in-law, in some cases, not always. Actually, the reason for infertility is her, right, because she passed on the mutation to her son. So, in turn he become infertile. So, this information should be known to the societies, therefore, there will not be too much of harassment of the daughter-in-laws.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our society needs to understand this, become aware and understand that women are not the always one to be blamed. In fact, the daughter-in-law is not the only one to be blamed. So, going about this infertility specifically relevant in our society. So, if we look at 15 to 20 years back, so our forefathers or grandfathers, they were like 10 to 15 children in the family, and it used to be a joint family. So, fertility was not a big problem in this. So, what changed in last a decade or so that now we are facing more infertility issues compared to the previous?
Yeah, that is a good question and also relevant to the society. In previous generation, if you take even 2-3 generation back, so there is no awareness, first thing, about increase of population and managing such a large number of children, right. In the, you said that it is a kind of joint family, there are many people to take care. Okay. So, now mostly nuclear families, right, and there is a family planning. Government itself started several years ago, several decades ago, that because to control the population size, awareness, that is one thing. On the other hand, WHO report says that the sperm count has reduced drastically, and the average, if you say that it is a normozoospermia, that means normal number of sperm, was once upon a time set as 100 million. Okay, it is gradually reduced. Now, if you have 20 million, you say that is a normal, right. So, overall there are many aspects. One is the awareness, family planning, joint family to nuclear family, then we discuss about sperm count, and also gradually the Y chromosome microdeletions are being seen in a big way. Stress and even the occupation, some of the occupations, once I was giving a talk in the embryological society, they gave me an award. The organizer is an embryologist, said, I do not want to mention the profession, but they say that I do not have time. So, the couple went there to have the ART. Okay. So, that is the situation now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand what has many mouths to feed, and
Correct.
societal pressure
Yeah.
and individual work pressure can also lead to this.
Correct.
So, on a bigger picture, how do you see that with the current lifestyle that we are having, that continuous screen time and not a definite balance of diet we are having,
Right.
do you think it has a relevance to infertility cases rising in men?
That could be one of the reason, because of availability of the kind of food in the society now. I mentioned some medicine can cause, some food can cause obesity, in turn can cause infertility. There are several reasons. We cannot actually pinpoint there is only one reason for infertility. Yeah.
And is there a way that we can overcome it with medicines, and or is assisted reproductive technology the only way to go about it?
In some cases, assisted reproductive technique can work. Some case even the psychological therapy can help. Okay. But there, I don't think, although not the modern medicine, but other medicine, they say that it can increase the sperm count, but I am not very sure.
Okay.
But if it does, it's very good. So, for any genetic cause, you know that there is no treatment, right. For other diseases, we can have prenatal diagnosis and so on. But here we do not have such kind of thing. Even premarital counseling, one can eliminate the disease. That is one bigger area which I work on, which I did not mention even one slide here, because I did not want to bring that component here. So, for example, somebody has a disease in a family, you know, you identified a mutation. So, that is the cause for that. In the next generation, you can actually do the prenatal diagnosis, specifically look for that mutation, and you can advise the parents. But here it is not like that.
Yes.
Okay. So, they do not have that kind of privilege to do counseling and so on. So, the assisted reproduction technique is the only hope for the infertile couple.
One last question, and so in India we have a diversity of climate. We have a diversity in terms of populations. Some people are living in really cold places, and some have a coastal. So, is there any correlation with respect to demographics that infertility happens in some of these areas and some which are relatively more?
Yeah, the sample which we analyzed, although from throughout India, but we found very significant difference in the Y chromosome microdeletion of the sample which came from Calcutta. About 8 to 10%, but we did not find that frequency in southern part of India. That Calcutta sample also includes sample from Bangladesh. Okay. So, one reason could be because these are all well characterized samples. They eliminated all the known causes and sent only the sample which we expect to be genetic. But here we analyze a random sample. That could be one of the reasons why we have seen there, but it is very significantly high.
This is really great to know about so much about human infertility, and specifically what can go wrong, and not only genetic or environmental, and how it can pass through, like from mother to child, infertility through autosomal chromosomes. And also our lifestyle can also influence infertility in many ways in which we can imagine. So the best way to go about is through ART, assisted reproductive technology, and this is the way, a solution for couples who are looking to have a child and are trying their best to have a child. So thank you so much, sir, for giving us time for this talk and for having this conversation with us. I'm really sure it will help a lot of people who will be hearing this.
Thank you so much. I hope that this would be useful for the society in general, but the infertile couple in particular.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.